Hi babes, how are you doing? I hope you are having a great and wonderful day. I'm Vera and welcome to my channel. On here, I read out stories that I receive from my followers and subscribers. Stories in need of your advice and your opinions. So if you love unique and real stories, welcome. You are the right place. Now, if you are going through something that you cannot tell anyone close to you about, or you need advice or opinions on something that is bothering you, we've got you. Just write out your story and send it to my TikTok page at vera.age. I'm going to leave it on the screen. Write out your story and send it to me. And when I post your story, I'm going to notify you and let you know your story is up. I just want to clarify something, please. When you send me your message, don't write, please, can I send you my story, or I have a story for you. Don't do that. Just write out your story and send it to me. So yeah, if you've not subscribed to this channel yet, please do it right now. Subscribe to this channel and like this video. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell so that when I post, you'll be notified immediately. Shout out to Laurel Moore. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. You were the first person to like my last video. Thank you so much for the support, babe. I love you. And now, without further delay, let's get right into it. Story number 1. I should have listened to the girl who tried to warn me to stay away from Kate. At the time, I didn't understand why she was warning me. She used to be friends with Kate, so I thought she was just jealous of our new friendship. I was so blind to see the kind of person she really was. A little background story. My family had just moved from Nigeria to Ghana. The transition was overwhelming, but also exciting. I was going to SHS2 at a new school. I was the new girl, and I hoped to make some friends quickly. As soon as I walked into the schoolyard, I noticed the girl who seemed to be the center of attention, and everyone around her seemed to hang on her every word. I ended up sitting next to her in class, and she was so nice. She asked me about Nigeria, and if I missed my friends. We spoke a lot, and when it was break time, she asked me to go with her and her friends to the canteen. I immediately realized she was the most popular girl in school. As the days went by, Kate and I became really close. She introduced me to everyone, and soon I was part of the inner circle. It felt good to belong. However, I often noticed Sandra, a girl from our class, always watching me with concern. One day, I met her on my way to school. She greeted me and we started talking about the school and the teachers. And then all of a sudden, she said she had something to tell me. "I need to warn you about Kate," Sandra began. "Please stay away from her. Trust me. I used to be friends with her." I frowned, not understanding the seriousness in her voice. I told her Kate seemed like a really nice person, and Sandra told me Kate was just acting. She said Kate controlled people and was very manipulative. We were at the school gate at this point, and she asked me to be careful and walked away. I brushed off Sandra's warnings, convinced she was just trying to sabotage my new friendship. That afternoon in school, I decided to discuss Sandra's warnings with Kate. We were eating at lunch when I told her everything Sandra had said to me. Kate's eyes widened. Then she shook her head and she told me Sandra used to be a very good friend. But when they had a falling out, she started spreading lies about her. Kate told me Sandra was just jealous of our friendship. She told me not to let Sandra's words come between us. The first few days passed like a dream. Kate was the best friend I could ever ask for. She invited me to hang out with her friends, helped me with my schoolwork, and even stood up for me when others tried to make fun of the new girl. With her by my side, I felt unstoppable. In every way, Kate was the perfect friend. However, a couple of weeks after I told her about what Sandra told me, something unexpected happened. A rumor started spreading around the school. People were whispering that Sandra had slept with a lot of the senior boys. It was all anyone could talk about, and nobody wanted to associate with her. She became the subject of laughter in school. Eventually, the pressure became too much for her, and she ended up leaving the school. I felt bad for Sandra, but didn't know what to think. Kate told me that she believed the rumors, and that when she used to be friends with Sandra, she was always talking about the different boys she had slept with. I started to notice that Kate was becoming a bit controlling, but she was still a good friend after all, always there for me when I needed her. But something happened that slowly began to show me her true colors. It all started in our final year of senior high school when a new boy named Daniel joined our class. He was charming, smart, and attractive. Naturally, many of us developed a crush on him. Kate, being the prettiest and the most popular one, was convinced that Daniel would choose her. But to everyone's surprise, he started dating Lydia, another girl in our friend group. A mix of jealousy and happiness filled our group. We were envious, yes, but genuinely happy for Lydia. Daniel and Lydia seemed perfect together, and they quickly became the power couple of our class. A few weeks into their relationship, something tragic happened that changed everything. One day, during a break, I was heading to the washroom when I saw Kate running out of one of the departments. She looked frantic, but didn't stop to explain. She just glanced at me and rushed past. Moments later, I heard shouts coming from the other side of the building. Rushing to see what the commotion was about, I was met with a horrifying sight. Lydia had fallen from the roof of the two-story building that Kate just came out from. People were gathered around, calling for help. Later that day, as I was still processing what had happened, Kate approached me in private. She pleaded with me and told me not to tell anyone that I saw her coming out of the building. She told me they would think she pushed Lydia, even though she was just there to get something from a classroom. She said she had nothing to do with her falling. Back then, I trusted her. She was my friend. So I promised to keep quiet, burying my doubts deep inside. Lydia survived, but with severe injuries. She broke both her legs and didn't return to school until after we had graduated. When asked about the incident, Lydia always said the same thing. One minute she was standing on the roof, and the next minute she was falling. She never mentioned seeing anyone else up there. A week after Lydia's tragic fall, Kate started dating Daniel. The timing felt wrong, almost disrespectful, and I couldn't shake off the feeling that something was terribly amiss. But I had given my word to Kate, and so I said nothing. As the final year in school continued, something wonderful happened. I started dating a new guy in my class. He was kind, thoughtful, and we quickly grew close. However, Kate was against my relationship with this new guy. She grew very possessive and did not like it when I spent time with him. She constantly made negative remarks about him, suggesting he wasn't good enough for me. Despite her comments, I continued to date this guy. One afternoon, Kate approached me with a request. She asked me to get a book from a classroom in the science department. Sure, no problem, I replied, eager to help. When I got there, I pushed open the door and my heart sank at what I saw. There, in the dimly lit room, was my boyfriend, kissing one of my friends, Abby. I couldn't believe my eyes, and I ran out of the room, my mind spinning with confusion and heartbreak. Later that day, I broke things off with the guy. The trust I had in him shattered in that classroom. Abby, the girl who was kissing my boyfriend, was a very good friend of mine, and a betrayal hit. The weeks rolled by, and soon we were sitting for our final exams. I tried to push the hurt and betrayal to the back of my mind, focusing on my studies instead. A few days after our exams ended, Abby cornered me at the side of the school and begged me to talk to her. I was pissed, and I told her I had nothing to say to her. She pleaded with me to hear her out. She told me she never wanted to kiss my boyfriend. She said Kate orchestrated the whole thing. She had something on her and blackmailed her into seducing and kissing him in that class at that specific time. She said when she refused to do it, Kate had threatened to reveal her secret to the whole school. Her words hit me like a physical blow. I couldn't believe what she was saying, but she kept insisting she was speaking the truth. She said Kate wanted to drive a wedge between me and the guy. She said she was not scared of her anymore since we are done with school, but she felt I needed to know the truth about what Kate had done. She told me to be careful of Kate and walked away. I made a decision that day. I couldn't let Kate continue to manipulate my life. It was time to cut her off completely. After our final exams, I moved in with my grandmother in another region. I sat down and wrote a long paragraph to Kate, detailing everything I had learned, including how she had forced Abby to kiss my boyfriend. I blocked her number immediately after sending the message. That night, I just decided to start afresh, and so I changed my SIM card altogether. 5 years passed, and I graduated from the university. I was struggling to find a good job despite my university degree. I had been working with my senior high school certificate, but the pay was barely enough to get by. When I heard about a job vacancy at a company I had always wanted to work for, I felt hopeful. This job could be the breakthrough I needed. As I walked into the lobby of the company, looking around and taking it all in, I suddenly froze. There, walking towards the exit, was Kate. We stood face to face for the first time in years. She greeted me and smiled. She asked me how I was doing, and I nodded. I was having mixed feelings and didn't know how to act towards her. She told me she was in a hurry and that she just came to give something to her fiancé, who was the managing director there. I swallowed hard, feeling a mix of emotions. She said it's been a while and that we needed to catch up. She took out her phone and gave it to me and asked me to give her my number and that she would like to talk more. I hesitated but ended up giving her my number. She promised to call me soon. Unfortunately, despite my hopes and efforts, I didn't get the job at the company. I felt dejected and uncertain about my future. Kate called me that weekend and asked me to meet up with her that Sunday. She even mentioned that she could help me get a job at the company where I had failed to secure a position. Against my better judgment, curiosity got the best of me and I agreed to meet her. When Sunday arrived, I met Kate at a restaurant in the city. She stood up and hugged me when she saw me. I want to apologize for everything I did years ago, she began. Immediately I sat down. I know I hurt you, and I've had a lot of time to reflect on my actions. I'm a changed person now. I've missed you so much. I've never found a friend like you. Her words seemed sincere, and for a moment, I really believed her. Kate said she knew I didn't get a job, and that she can talk to her fiancé for me. She said she was sure he can help me. I listened to her and I really wanted to believe her. I told her I appreciated the offer, but I needed some time to think about it. She said she just wanted us to be like we used to be before. She said she has missed me. Now, has she really changed? Should I accept her help and risk getting close to her again? Or should I move on and keep searching for a job elsewhere? Given your history, I don't think it's a good idea to accept this job offer from her. Think about the past. Remember how Kate treated you before, how manipulative she was. Why is Kate offering to help? Is it from kindness? Or she just wants to use this to continue manipulating you? You have to be careful about her true intentions. Listen to your guts. Listen to your instincts. If something feels wrong or you feel uncomfortable, pay attention to those feelings. You see, the thing is, people like Kate don't change. She's a very dangerous person. And it is possible she was the one who pushed that girl from that building all those years ago. Letting a person like that back into your life is very risky. I don't trust people like Kate. You never know what they are planning next. But if you choose to reconnect with her and accept her help, then you have to be really careful and make sure you protect your well-being and peace of mind. So yeah, if you have any advice for this sender, write story number 1 and leave your advice and opinions. She's going to be in the comment section reading them. Now let's move on to story number 2. Will I be an asshole if I cut my sister off? I have an older sister and we have lived together for most, if not all of my life. My memories of her are filled with more hate than love. She has consistently chosen strangers and everyone else over me. I do the most, sacrifice and go above and beyond to be there for her. Yet, there is never any sense of appreciation. I don't know where to start the story, but I will recount some instances. And from this, you can tell me whether I would be wrong to completely cut her off from my life. We lived together during university, and for the first time in my life, I fell seriously ill and was admitted to the hospital. During my first year of university, I met this girl, let's call her B, as she would be a reference in this story. While in the hospital, I spent 2 nights there, and guess who stayed with me? B. My sister dropped by the hospital once, as if visiting a roommate or classmate. The day I was discharged from the hospital, I was told my sister was sick. B and I went straight to the hospital where my sister was admitted. Despite just being discharged myself, I spent the night with her and took care of her until she was discharged. Of course, because it's family, there was no sense of appreciation. I looked past this, although I was deeply hurt. I would literally do every house chore in the house, cook, clean, everything. If I didn't, the dishes would go mold. This bothered me so much that I decided to stop doing it and spend most of the time with B so that I wouldn't be in the house and be forced to do everything. My sister started saying B was a bad influence on me. I would go to school and then to B's place and come home just to sleep. We had a heated argument about this because I couldn't understand why she would call the only person who showed me attention and treated me well a bad influence. The argument was so bad that we didn't talk for days. During those days, I felt sick. If someone is sick and you are around them, you know whether or not you care about them. I was sick and throwing up, but my sister did not once offer any word to me. It got so bad that I had to travel back to our family home to get proper treatment. I left on a Thursday, traveled, and arrived on a Friday, and was instantly admitted. My sister did not see me, did not ask me where I was, never called, never asked, and never said a word. I looked past it, and we were good. Towards the end of university, she started dating someone. She would spend time with her partner and all that. Then the house chores and dishes issue came up again. I was not ready to be treated like a slave, so she made a rule. When you eat, you wash your dish. If my friends ate, I had to wash the dishes. If her friends ate, she would wash. But when my friends were still in our room, she would openly say, "Go and wash the dishes. They are your friends who ate." Or she would say, "Your friend is dirtying the floor. Know that you are going to clean it." I was so uncomfortable with this that I had to tell her it wasn't right to do that when I had friends over. Besides, I do everything most of the time without complaining. I pointed out that I had never called out a boyfriend when he ate or did anything, so she shouldn't do the same to me. She got mad and said I shouldn't compare because her boyfriend was different and nowhere close to my friends. I responded by saying that it's not just my friends. Even I am nowhere close to a boyfriend because I have been sick. Not that my university days were full of illness. I have been sick and she didn't care, but she would leave and go take care of her boyfriend, even for something as minor as a nail ache. Then she said if I don't tell her I'm sick, what do I expect her to do? Diagnose or smell it? During this argument, I was barely breathing because I had been sick and hadn't eaten for days. As I was down and home by myself, I couldn't even continue the argument because I was gasping for air. I got up, held onto a chair, managed to get my hospital book, and she just sat there acting as though nothing was going on. I left, took a taxi, and went to the hospital. Predictably, she never texted, never called, never checked on me. I was there for 2 days by myself. I got discharged, came home, and of course, I was wrong for not saying I was sick and couldn't breathe and for going to the hospital. Years later, we moved to another state trying to find jobs. We both got jobs, but hers was good, and she had her own home. I, on the other hand, was not very lucky. So I pleaded with her to let me live at her place till I got myself sorted out. While living with her, I noticed she could recommend me for jobs where she worked, but she told me we couldn't work together because family doesn't work at her company. I later found out this was a lie. Then she would do interviews for people she just met and apply for jobs to help them get good positions while I was struggling. I had to tell her I was hurt. She then said the worst words I have ever heard in my life. Is it my fault that you are hurting? Should I bury my feelings just to be there for you? This made me suicidal. I texted her before I tried to kill myself. She never responded. I was found by the police. I was in therapy and battling to get well. As I tell you the story, she has never, I mean never, said sorry or asked if those suicidal thoughts are gone. Whenever I bring up an instance of hate, she gaslights me and make me think I am responsible for her actions. I promise you I have never felt loved by this person. I have been hurt the most by this person. I always hoped she would see me, treat me kindly, and recognize my feelings. Mind you, she never apologizes for all this and even stops talking to me. I always end up talking to her or starting a conversation before we start talking again. So, will I be an asshole if I concentrate on myself and forget her and the so called family? I'm really sorry you've had to go through this with your sister. You've tried really hard to make things work. But unfortunately, it hasn't because your sister is not trying as hard. Your feelings are real and important. And it's okay to feel hurt and unappreciated. Your mental health is very important. And if being around your sister makes you feel bad, it might be a good idea to spend less time with her. But if you feel like cutting her off completely is what is good for you, then do it, babe. Keep going to therapy if you can. The therapist will help you understand your feelings and give you advice on how to handle the situation. I will say talk to your sister again, but people like your sister, no matter what you tell her, she will not change. So don't even waste your time and energy on her anymore. Rather, spend time with people who make you feel good. Do things that make you feel happy and relaxed. Just put yourself first and take care of yourself. You deserve to feel safe and respected in all your relationships. So if you can, just cut it off and live your life. Put all your energy inside you and build yourself up. Don't waste time thinking about people who don't care about you. Just live your life, babe, and forget about your sister. Take care of yourself, and I'm wishing you all the best. If you have any advice for the sender, Abi, you know that. Write story number 2 and leave your advice and opinions. She's going to be in the comment section reading them. Now let's move on to story number 3. I met this man in April during a program at my school. Let's call him Ben. He took my contact information and texted me on WhatsApp 2 days later. We started chatting and getting to know each other. During our conversations, Ben told me that he had been married before, but they were no longer together. I initially thought he was lying, so he sent me some pictures to prove it. I said okay, and then asked why she had left him. He explained that the woman, who already had one child before they got married, would not be able to have more children. After trying multiple methods to help her get pregnant without success, she decided to leave so he could move on with his life. He said he wanted to have his own child. I asked if he was still in contact with her, and he said no, assuring me that there was nothing going on between them. I believed him, and since there was no ongoing relationship between them, I agreed to date him. I was just coming out of a bad relationship, so I was being very careful. But along the line, I fell in love with Ben. This man makes me happy and gives me anything I want if he has it. I visited Ben in June, and that is when everything started. One day, Ben and I had an argument, and I left the room to take a walk. When I came back, Ben apologized and said he was sorry. He had left his phone charging and went out. Something urged me to check his WhatsApp messages, and guess what? I found out that Ben was still chatting with a woman he claimed was his ex-wife, with whom he told me he had no communication. The chat was sexual, and he had saved her number with a sweet name. I sat on the floor crying until he came back. I asked him if he was sent to destroy me, and he said he was sorry and didn't know what came over him. I forgave Ben because I loved him, and at the time I was 2 weeks pregnant with his child. Unfortunately, I fell ill and lost the pregnancy. Despite his apology, Ben was still secretly calling and chatting with this woman. I told him I was leaving the relationship because it was not what he had promised, and it was clear he didn't value our relationship. He apologized again, saying he would stop hurting me, even though I knew he was still doing it. I didn't complain anymore, but I made it clear that I could leave the relationship anytime. I could see he was scared of losing me and was being careful not to offend me. He also stopped being secretive. Ben recently told me he contacted a woman to sign the divorce papers since she had said he could move on. However, she refused to sign but said he could still move on with his life. She doesn't have any problem with him getting married to me, but she still wants to be known as Mrs. Ben. She doesn't want people to mock her for being divorced by the man who married her. I also told Ben that I can't be his second wife. Ben's dad also called the lady and asked her about signing the divorce papers, and she said the same thing. She still wants to be known as Mrs. Ben and won't interfere in Ben's life anymore. She said he can move on. I really love Ben, and he doesn't want to lose me either. He has been thinking a lot these days, worried that I'm going to leave him because the lady refuses to sign the papers. Should I go ahead and marry Ben, or should I make sure the papers are signed first? I'm confused, V. Please help me out. I don't have anyone else to talk to. Babe, I understand you are in a really tough situation and it must be very stressful for you. You love Ben, but it's important to make sure everything is clear before moving forward. It is very important to get the divorce finalized before you think about marrying Ben. Make sure he's officially divorced. This means that the divorce papers need to be signed and completed. Marrying him without this could cause big problems for you. Ben needs to prove to you that he's serious about ending his previous marriage. Encourage him to get legal help to make sure the divorce happens. You've told him that you don't want to be a second wife, and that is very important. Stick to your values and needs. You've set the boundary, and you've told him you don't want to be a second wife. If you let him step all over your boundary and you agree to marry him, next time when you tell him you are going to do something, he won't believe you and he's going to step all over you. Stick to your boundaries. You've told him you don't want to be a second wife. That is it. Let him finalize his divorce and marry you. Trust is very important in every relationship. Ben was not honest with you before about talking to his ex-wife. From now onwards, he needs to be open and honest with you. Think about your future and what makes you happy in the long run. If Ben really loves you and wants to be with you, he will do whatever it takes to fix those problems. So babe, make sure his divorce is legally done before thinking about marriage. Ben needs to prove he's committed to you by solving these issues. Always put your own well-being first. Your peace of mind is important. Take care of yourself, babe. If you have any advice for this sender, just write story number 3 and leave your advice and opinions. She's going to be in the comment section reading them. And always remember, you are not perfect. I'm not perfect. The senders are not perfect. Obviously, these issues are worrying them. That is why they've sent it to me anonymously in the first place. So please be kind to them in the comment section. If you've not subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Come and join the family. Subscribe and like this video. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell so that when I post, you'll be notified immediately. Remember, the senders are sending their stories because of you. So don't forget to leave your advice and opinions in the comment section below. If you don't advise them, the stories are going to stop coming. Oh, I know you love the stories. So don't forget to leave your advice and opinions down below. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. See you next time. Okay, I'm done. Bye.